looking to get into the world of sim racing but have no idea where to start? Well, luckily for you and for me, I've got 3 different sim racing rigs in my house of 3 differing price levels, and I'm going to take you through each of them, giving you the pros and cons, giving you a bit more of an idea of what to go for when you decide to take the dive into sim racing. This right here is a beginner sim racing setup. I'm sat on the Next Level Racing GT Lite Pro, and I've got a Logitech G29 steering wheel and pedals. Lucky Logitech has been around in one way or another for over 15 years and is actually the staple for sim racing beginners and casual racing enthusiasts. There are 3 main models to be aware of: the Logitech G29 that works on PlayStation, the Logitech G920, which is the older generation of the G923, which both work on Xbox and PC. The Logitech G29 is a full force feedback wheel, which, as the name suggests, means that when you're driving in the game, the forces that are transferred from the road up to the wheel is what you'd expect as you'd expect in real life, meaning that you get the forces through your hands and it dictates how you can drive, giving you some useful information. Now, the Logitech G29 has got 1 to 2 newton meters of torque, which is pretty weak in the grand scheme of things. For example, the most powerful wheel in this review has got 27 newton meters of torque, which is pretty hardcore. Pedals on this thing are potentiometer based, meaning that it works out how much braking force to apply through the amount of travel your foot does, which isn't super convenient in terms of being consistent, because it's easier to be consistent when you're using pressure, which we'll touch on a little bit later. The rig we've got here is the Next Level Racing GT Lite Pro, an awesome rig that is easy to use, very portable and fairly comfortable. The nice thing about this is that it means that you can go into sim racing without having to spend a heck of a lot of money to test the waters to see if it's something you might be interested in. And if you're more of a casual player, the fact that you can fold this up sort of and put it away means that it might be a bit more convenient for someone like yourself. The added convenience of using the Logitech means you can use it with consoles, which is a great way to start. Now, mostly the games people play in PlayStation world are Gran Turismo, and in Xbox world of Forza, with Formula 1 games being in between. This thing works really well if you're trying to get into the hobby and you don't want to spend lots of money. The prices on these are really good, and you can find these often on Facebook Marketplace for really good used prices. So you figured out that you like the hobby and you want to spend a bit more money doing this. Well, okay, let's go up a level and let's go literally upstairs to the other rig I've got set up, which is a little bit more expensive and a little bit more impressive. Let's go. Taking this upper level, we're now using an aluminium profile rig. What this is essentially a piece of aluminium or pieces of aluminium put together to create a rig and a cool seat on board. The one we're using here is the Exodus Racing profile rig from an awesome company called Sim Rigs based down in Melbourne in Australia. And they've created this aluminium profile rig to be slightly different from what you'd expect from a lot of other companies, in that it's got a lot of customization. I love the graphics on the seat back. I love the graphics on the sides. It just looks cool, and you can also customize this to your heart's content. The whole point of this rig is that it's a bit more sturdy, meaning that you can put increasingly powerful wheelbases on this thing, such as the SimMagic Alpha Mini that you can see here today. This has got 10 newton meters of torque and is almost 10 times as powerful as the Logitech that I showed you earlier. It's got lots of customizable options in terms of wheels you can use, and the one you see here is the SimMagic FX Pro, and it's an awesome Formula 1 style wheel that looks the part. It's on the more expensive side of sim racing F1 wheels, and I've got a video coming soon showing the whole array of things you can expect, but it does the job really well and is one of the nicer options on the market. I've got a Samsung G9 ultra wide OLED display, which is absolutely stunning. This thing wows. The pedals are SimMagic P1000 pedals, and they are beautiful. They've got the haptic reactors attached to them, which means that when you brake, you get the vibration under the foot, which is meant to replicate either obviously the vibration of an engine or ABS, which is much more important in learning to brake consistently. The brake fit on these is amazing, and it's a load cell brake compared to the Logitech's potentiometer, meaning that it's all about the amount of force you put through the foot into the brake pedal rather than the pedal travel, which makes things much more consistent. Now, with this setup, I'm using a computer. PC is the answer if you want to unlock the full breadth and depth of sim racing, because the number of titles and modifications you can have with this are absolutely bananas. My recommendation at this level is definitely to get yourself a PC, because it also unlocks things like virtual reality, which you can do on PlayStation, but you have so many more titles to do on the PC. Now, there are a lot of different wheelbases that you can buy at this level, and the market is constantly shifting. I've got a few videos in my channel that show the differences between these wheelbases and some individual reviews, so if you're more interested in those, go and take a look. My own experience of pretty much using all the wheelbases available on the market, the one that strikes me as the mid-range master, the champion of all, is in fact the SimMagic Alpha Mini. This is based on it feeling like it has a bit more power than advertised, the smoothness of the actual action of the direct drive wheelbase, and the ease of use of the software. Add into the fact that this has got an awesome ecosystem behind it, and there's no reason not to see SimMagic as an awesome choice. Ultimately, what you should not get into the trap of doing is buy a sim racing steering wheel or setup thinking that it's going to make you a faster driver, because there are people sitting on their Logitechs at home who will smoke you on the most expensive setup no matter how much money you spent on it. So more expensive sim racing setups will not make you faster. They might make you a little bit more consistent, but you'll certainly be having fun with the next one which is coming up, because now we're playing with motion. That's right, this is my full motion sim racing setup, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to say that this is mine, but it is extremely enjoyable. Now, what do you actually get in this? So we have got the Asetek Invicta wheelbase, which is a 27 Newton meter wheelbase, which is providing lots of power, lots of smoothness. Now, this wheelbase is awesome to use. It looks awesome with the different LEDs on it that you can program to give you differing amounts of information. The wheel itself is the Asetek Forte Formula wheel, which I particularly like, but some people don't because of the colors and things, but it feels nice to hold in the hand and certainly feels ergonomic to use on the racing track. The pedals are the Asetek Invicta hydraulic pedals, which is awesome because it feels more akin to what you'd expect in a real car. Now, I've not driven a race car before, but I've been reliably told that this can feel very similar. Now, the big part of this rig and why I love it so much is the motion system. I'm using the Cubic QS210 3 degrees of freedom motion system. What we mean by that is that you have pitch, roll, and you've got heave, which is, I think, the minimum required to have a great sim racing experience that adds to the experience and not just detracting by making you fly around the place, which is important to mention because sim racing motion has to be toned down, because if it's too high, it'll just be distracting. But it's super fun to use, and I honestly can't sim race without it these days. And I also double the use of this by making it a flight sim rig from time to time. Now, the actual rig that this is built on is the SimLab P1X Pro, which in my opinion, out of all the rigs I've used, is probably the best one in terms of the quality of the aluminium profile. Not all profile is the same, and some companies do use a cheaper kind of metal which you can feel immediately. It's a bit sharper on the edge and unfinished, and I've actually cut myself on one in the past, but we won't mention who. The visuals I've got on here are by way of the Samsung G9 57-inch super ultra-wide monitor, which I love. This thing was so expensive to buy, but believe me, the visuals on it are totally worth it. It's a 4K monitor which wraps around you with a 1000R curvature, which makes it feel super immersive. And compared to the other popular option in the market, which is triple screens, and just to note, triple screens are 3 screens in which people have them wrap around them, that actually does provide superior field of view, meaning that you can see around you better, which encourages closer racing. But in my opinion, for my needs, this fit a lot better, and it meant that I didn't have to worry about changing FOV between different sim racing titles and messing around with lots of different wires. It's just a bit easier from that point of view, and if the 57 is too big, there's always a 49, and if you're really wanting triples, I think go for them because they feel good, and if you have the space and the patience, then they can transform your experience too. Now, that was just a whistle-stop tour through the different options you might expect if you are planning to make a sim racing purchase. As with anything, please do your research. Don't just buy anything that anyone tells you to buy. Be sure that it's right for you. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and let me know in the comments down below what kind of videos you want in the future. I've got some really cool stuff coming very soon, so please stick around. Till next time, guys, see you later.